Power in Washington rarely announces itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't confess. It hides. It hides behind sealed doors. Behind legal language. Behind thousands of files no one is supposed to read. And photographs no one is supposed to see. And this week, those photographs finally surfaced. Not all of them. Not even close. But enough to make people uncomfortable. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released a small number of images obtained through a subpoena from the Jeffrey Epstein estate. Almost immediately, Republicans pushed back. They accused Democrats of chasing headlines. Of selectively censoring evidence. Of cherry-picking images to create a political narrative. They went even further. They said Democrats should be ashamed. That releasing these images was disgusting. That it put politics above justice for survivors. And that's the moment when Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett stepped in, not defensively, not cautiously, but directly. Because in her view, the real shame wasn't the release of photos. The real shame was everything Republicans had refused to do before this moment. Jasmine Crockett didn't mince words. She said Republicans never wanted to act on behalf of survivors in the first place. Not when it mattered. Not when there was an actual opportunity to do something meaningful. When Democrats tried to bring a discharge petition to the floor, Republicans wouldn't sign on. When accountability was possible, silence was the response. It wasn't until Adelita Gralva was finally sworn in that progress could even begin. So don't talk to me about what's disgusting, Crockett said. Because the truth, as she framed it, is uncomfortable. The information coming out right now is not being voluntarily released by Trump's Department of Justice. It's not transparency from the administration. It's material coming directly from the Epstein estate itself. This latest release alone includes nearly 95,000 photographs. 95,000. And yet, the public has seen only 19. That number became the next point of attack. Critics asked, what are people supposed to learn from a fraction of a fraction? From images showing the president alongside redacted photos of women? From a photo of a condom labeled with Trump's name? Why those images? Why release them at all? And Crockett's answer wasn't sensational, it was contextual. She said the narrative already exists. The president's history with Epstein exists. Epstein's role as an abuser exists. And when you see repeated images of powerful men surrounded by groups of women, when sexual references appear in materials tied to a known trafficking operation, that context matters. This isn't random. This isn't meaningless. It raises questions. And the purpose, she said, is not to dump all 95,000 files into the public arena. The purpose is pressure. Pressure to demand the rest. Pressure to keep asking. Pressure to make sure this story doesn't quietly disappear again. From there, the conversation shifted, but the theme stayed the same. Power versus people. This time, the focus was healthcare. Affordable Care Act subsidies are set to expire at the end of the year. Millions of Americans depend on them. 2 votes have already failed in the Senate. In the House, multiple discharge petitions are circulating, 1-year extensions, 2-year extensions, and a 3-year extension supported by most Democrats. The question is simple, but the answer is not. Can vulnerable Republicans be persuaded to cross the aisle and reach the 218 votes needed? Jasmine Crockett didn't hesitate. She said she hopes so, but she doesn't believe it. Because what she's seen, over and over again, is fear. Republicans in the House, she argued, are more afraid of the president than they are of their own constituents. More afraid of political retaliation than of voters losing healthcare. She pointed to Marjorie Taylor Greene as an example, someone who, despite acknowledging the stakes, refused to stand on the opposite side of the president. According to Crockett, excuses are easy. Danger is cited. Loyalty is demanded. And accountability disappears. But that's not what representative government is supposed to look like. Members of Congress don't represent one man. They represent roughly 766,000 people each. And when those people are ignored, when their needs come second to political fear, the system itself starts to break down. Then came a more personal moment. Would Jasmine Crockett be willing to make the call? Would she reach out to Marjorie Taylor Greene if it meant protecting her constituents and securing those votes? Her answer was immediate. Yes. She said she would do anything necessary to make sure the people she represents are taken care of. And she reminded viewers of something many had forgotten. When Marjorie Taylor Greene previously spoke about receiving death threats, Crockett's office reached out. Not for politics. Not for optics. But to ask whether there was legislation they could work on together. Because regardless of ideology, Crockett said political violence should never be acceptable. Disagreements are part of democracy. Fear for your life should not be. She believed that bipartisan action on that issue could bring people together. But the call never came back. And just as that chapter closed, another opened. This week, Jasmine Crockett officially announced her run for the United States Senate from Texas. Early polls suggest she's leading the Democratic primary. But criticism followed quickly. Veteran strategist James Carville dismissed her style, saying she talks more about herself than about voters. Crockett didn't deny breaking the rules. She embraced it. She said the campaign hasn't followed the traditional playbook, and that's intentional. Because she's never followed the rules. And as she made clear, this race, like everything else she's done, won't be quiet. It won't be comfortable. And it won't be easy to ignore. The story isn't over. It's just entering its most consequential chapter yet.